Yeah.
Yeah, and he's doing this like he putting them here intentionally so he can display his wonders, not just for the Israelites, not just to, give the last ditch opportunity for the Egyptians to repent, which they did, and they hardened their hearts further. But literally, he's showing out in front of his enemy, Zeus. Much better. Okay. So check this out, guys. So this is like an aerial view of that region. And this, as you can see, the top right where the little arrow is pointing, the white arrow to this mountaintop that's called Baal Zephon. This is what most scholars and archaeologists believe that this is the ancient location of Baal Zephon. And that this causeway here, where that crosses the actual sea, that was the place it crosses, right? As it goes into this canal to the left, to the top left, but to the right is the rest of the largest part of the Red Sea area, right? Which is why it says the mouth of the canal.
Mhm.
So just so growing up, I always saw this, all depictions and even some depictions from like maps from aerial stuff. Never saw them crossing in this particular area. Always saw them crossing in more of looked like a straight river, right? With straight river banks on both sides. Never next to this volume of water. Guys, this yeah, it's a miracle regardless, but this is insane. To think about what we're showing here, right? We got mountains on the left, you got an entire sea on the right that he decided, I'm going to make that stand still and I'm going to stop this up and I'm going to move this aside. Like that is ridiculous volumes of water. And here's the crazy part. Baal Zephon, this mountain here on the right, which is literally where he told he told him in that chapter to go camp directly opposite of Baal Zephon. So that means it says they turned back
At Etham, which means the wall.
Yeah, so they turned back. So they went past this point. They turned back intentionally to go to this point. And remember, that tells us later, the Lord did this to trick Pharaoh and to let Pharaoh think that they had trapped themselves. And so the Father is going out of his way to put the Israelites specifically directly opposite of Baal Zephon, where there was a temple to Zeus, where people worship Zeus on Baal Zephon.
They're being led by an angel the whole time to do this, right?
Yeah.
Like it's no accident that they,
Yeah, and he's doing this, like he's putting them here intentionally so he can display his wonders, not just for the Israelites, not just to, give the last ditch opportunity for the Egyptians to repent, which they did, and they hardened their hearts further. But literally, he's showing out in front of his enemy, Zeus. Like that is crazy. He could have had them walk around to the edge and walk on land and not even cross the sea at all. But specifically, the placement of where he's trying to cross them is directly in view of a temple of his enemy, Zeus. Like that is, to me, that's just hilarious. That's pretty salty. That's pretty salty to me. So I thought that was fascinating. Just the size of the miracle was grander than I ever really understood, and the fact that he's doing it directly in front of an enemy temple, I thought was just, man, that's just amazing, truly amazing.
It really is.
So yeah, that's great. That is what Piha Harath means and Baal Zephon, and that's where just those ideas for like what's the placement here, what's going on. And did you guys notice that like it said, once the water was parted and the Israelites were going through, and then the angel of the cloud is in the fire is still separating the two camps of the Egyptians and the Israelites, but the Egyptians, they follow down into the pathway between the waters, and it says because their hearts were hardened. And so that just made me think the Israelites, and we see this at the end of this chapter, that they see these wonders and signs, and therefore they start to believe in God and then believe in Moses, the servant of Yahweh. And it's like their heart is being softened throughout all this, while the Egyptians are being hardened throughout all this. So all these plagues we've been reading about, this whole time that he's bringing them out, and all these miracles he's doing for them, and will continue to do for them, it's to soften their hearts. And so I wanted to ask you guys what you thought about this, because as we see these Israelites, as we get further in chapters, many of us are already aware that they have several struggles with their loyalty to Yahweh. Even to the point of hearing just 2 months later, they're at the base of Mount Sinai and they start worshiping Baal again. So my big question was, when did they start worshiping Baal?
Back in Egypt, I would presume, right? I just think it's cool. My first thought that came to mind was that a mixed multitude still came out. Even though the hardening of the hearts was happening, the plagues, a mixed multitude still left out of Egypt with them.
Yeah, yes, because some of them
their hearts softened as a result.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome, right? It's a great testimony that no one is what is it called? Nobody is gosh, I can't think of the word right now. No one's predestined to be condemned or doomed. You know what I'm saying? So even though Yahweh announces and then follows through with plague after plague, he announces, I'm going to destroy Egypt. I'm going to judge them and their gods because of what they're doing to my people. Some of those people that were being a part of the oppressors repented and became a part of the oppressed to share with them in their plight. And those people remind me of the Matthew 25 moment that are judged as sheep, right? For unto my brethren that you did unto me. And so like that's why they be grafted into the kingdom, So it is a beautiful moment. It truly is. I just was amazed. I never knew that there was an actual temple to Zeus literally right in front of where they crossed. And according to what I read from history, all the surrounding nations knew that was like the main place. That was like a huge point of centrality for Zeus worship.
It was the epicenter of Baal worship for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like when people have their hearts hardened when these miraculous signs and wonders are taking place, it's almost like they're not only becoming more bitter towards the Creator, but they're also like blinded. They can't recognize the miracles for what they really are. Because imagine being the Egyptians, seeing both sides of the Nile, of the river standing up, and they don't even think for a second that, well, the God that split the sea can close it on us anytime. Right? They're so blinded to it. And I've had moments when you're just down in a hole and you're throwing your own pity party, and you can't even see what God is doing for you, and only as he pulls you out, you see like, oh man, all these miraculous things that he did for you. And I think it's we see it even in the companion passage later, that when your heart is hardened, you can't see miracles even when they're right in front of you. So it's very fascinating.